forsakenness. It's just incredible. And illness shows us, with the way it comes, that the ground is never sure, and that anything can happen to anyone, and that even mountains are merely suspended on strings. And I think that illness is one of the strangest visitors that can show up in a life, because what it extends to you is a dark invitation. And it takes great courage and great generosity and great hope to meet it in a way other than reaction and complaint and a sense of being a victim. And to somehow to learn that you could possibly turn it in some way towards the light. Because when a person gets ill, the first thing that happens to you is an incredible feeling of aloneness. Because all the connections that you could depend on before are now suddenly revised and qualified, and you are looking out at things from a different space. Then there's also fear. The fear of what will happen now that this thing has begun and it's dark. Will I be able for it? Will I suffer? Will I have someone to talk to? Pressure I'll be putting on those close to me. All of that whole thing. And then the unknown is the other thing about it. You have no idea what lies ahead. Usually most of us, when we embark on a journey, we're excited about the prospects of the geography and the territories we'll see. But a dark journey like illness introduces you to and brings you to the edge of geographies that you hoped you would never see. So it's very difficult in that way. And it also, of course, the fundamental thing about it is that your only home in the world is this clay hut that we call the human body. And when that begins to get ransacked and rifled by illness, it's the ultimate ungrounding of a person, really. I always think, and have always thought, that hospitals are not buildings on ground. They're more like buildings that are up in the air, and they have very weak floors. And every so often, and nearly always, there's someone falling through. And when those who are ill are negotiating very difficult thresholds. Because when you're in your ordinary life and you have your health, you can pretend things, you can have all kinds of masks, and you can get on with things. But one of the central bleak gifts of illness is that it unmasks everything. And there's no possibility of pretending anymore. So suddenly things in your life that you might have kept sideways from. There's a friend of mine telling me that he met an old man in Connemara one time, and the man was sitting down with his hands on the wall, and he says to, my friend says to him, "Care thought we done that?" And the man answered back out of the side of his mouth, and he says, "Tá mé cin all is strachach and tamach ar a law." I'm kind of looking out sideways at the day, he said. Which is a great phrase. But sometimes you'll be sideways to things, but yet when illness arrives, everything has to be engaged and met. And then the structures that would have supported you before, your structures of meaning, your structures about your own identity, all become revised and qualified in a new kind of way. And my contention this afternoon, just I'll only hold you for a few more minutes, is this, is that all the rational structures go. They're no good to you, because suddenly you're on bleak new ground. And you have to reach into somewhere else to find the new ground. It's there, but it's hard to find it. And my contention is that actually that's what artists try to do all the time. They try to go aside from the quotidian daily round and find the strange place to stand so that something else can emerge into vision or word or sound. And I think therefore that a piece of art meets you in a way that nothing else meets you. Often when I go to London now, there's a couple of things I'd go to see in the National Gallery by Murillo that I'd be dying to see, and I've seen them 100 times, and the chances are I won't see anything new in them. But you know when you stand in front of them for a half an hour or whatever, that something different happens to you. And that's, I think, the importance of having art in a place where people are fundamentally dislocated from their old ground of health and are now on strange shifting ground. Art speaks the language that their souls are now learning to be acquainted with. And also the atmosphere. I've always thought that one of the central things about healing is presence. And that's actually, I think, one of the things about a good doctor, a good nurse, or a good therapist, is the quality of their presence has healing in it. And when you engage with it, regardless of the words or the tangle of explanation or emergence, that actually the presence comes across to you and heals you. And that's why I think when you're ill, you need the most refined, dexterous, subtle, and flexible presence. And that's why I think in a place like this, that the art actually creates that atmosphere, which isn't an attendant luxury, but actually is an inner necessity in the journey of healing. I think also that art, in the way that it makes, the way that it keeps us back from itself, because a good painting won't let you in, but it'll make you work for a long time, approaching in the outer rim, and then it might give you a little glimpse, and then it'll hold you out again. So that what it's doing actually is refining the way that you're seeing things. Your eyes, and you feel that against your will, a stranger has married your heart. Nothing before has made you feel so isolated and lost. When the reverberations of shock subside in you, may grace come to restore you to balance. May it shape a new space in your heart to embrace this illness as a teacher who has come to open your life to new worlds. May you find in yourself a courageous hospitality towards what is difficult, painful, and unknown. May you learn to use this illness as a lantern to illuminate the new qualities that will emerge in you. May the fragile harvesting of this slow light help to release whatever has become false in you. May you trust this light to clear a path through all the fog of old unease and anxiety, until you feel arising within you a tranquility profound enough to call the storm to stillness. May you find the wisdom to listen to your illness, ask it why it came, why it chose your friendship, where it wants to take you, what it wants you to know, what quality of space it wants to create in you, what you need to learn to become more fully yourself, that your presence may shine in the world. May you keep faith with your body, learning to see it as a holy sanctuary which can bring this night wound gradually towards the healing and freedom of dawn. May you be granted the courage and vision to work through passivity and self-pity, to see the beauty you can harvest from the riches of this dark invitation, and may you learn to receive it graciously and promise to learn swiftly, that it may leave you newborn, willing to dedicate your time to birth.
Thank you, Chris, Bernard, and John, for that wonderful, wonderful speech. I suppose, how this all started was on a visit to the Oncology Day Ward in NUIG across the road. And I was coming out of the lift one day and I met Jim Sweeney, pottering around the place as he is. And I said, Jim, I have an idea for Inis Aoibhinn. And